I, 34-year-old female, made the mistake of allowing my best friend, Mary, 33-year-old female, her husband, Carl, 27-year-old male, and 2 kids to crash at my place after showing up without being invited. She showed up for a visit and later complained that it was too late to drive back home, 5 hours. I hate having people over, and she has a history of being a moocher. However, we did have a great time, so in the end I was grateful for her visit, and it was raining. I agreed to let her spend the night safely at my place. I did not go crazy with accommodations because I didn't want her to get too comfortable, so I opened the sofa bed for them and went to sleep. My boyfriend went into the bathroom near midnight and woke me up looking angry and confused. He said Mary and her husband were having an unauthorized food orgy in our kitchen. I immediately went there and found her by the dinner table with all our sushi trays laid out, while she was sampling it and handing it to her husband. The wastebasket was right next to them because he was taking a bite and spitting it out if he didn't like it. My sushi sampler tray was left with just a few pieces, and most of my boyfriend's tray was thrown away by them without even asking my permission to eat it. They also cut a brand new and store-sealed artisan cake and opened juice cartons straight from the pantry, despite me having left juice in the refrigerator in case they wanted some. The garbage bin had lots of chewed rice. It looked like someone had chewed and sucked on it for flavor tasting and then spit it out. I found this especially infuriating as I left those dishes to the back of the fridge and inside 2 tightly knotted bags for privacy. I served them dinner. I showed her where the bread and sandwich supplies could be found in case they needed anything. I don't understand why she wanted to take more than she was given. I also found a complete box of chocolates, gifted by my boyfriend, emptied out, and an entire 6-pack of Coca-Cola, all thrown away. Her excuse was her wanting her husband to have a taste of nice things, because he's not familiar with sushi, and she has always talked about the food I like to buy. I immediately kicked her out. She begged because it was 12 a.m. and said they would leave very early in the morning. I went to bed crying in anger. I woke them up at almost 4 a.m. She started clicking her tongue like a sleepy cartoon character, and her husband protested that it was too early. I pulled the sheets from him and had them leave. As clarification, they both have jobs and shame on me for allowing her to come in because I've had to create boundaries with her multiple times because of showing up unannounced, playing the I lost my wallet game when the check comes at a restaurant, and constantly trying to avoid paying bills. She called me hours later, but I didn't pick up, so she left a message. She said I spoiled her Christmas because her intent was to come visit her family living nearby, but by having to go back home, they couldn't contact family members to ask them to let them in because it was too early. So she and her husband had a fight, and they drove back, and now he only wants to spend their 10-day vacation with his own family. She sent me another message a few hours later. She says that he's still very angry because he had to drive while groggy, and that being sleepy causes him to be grouchy all day. She said he's so mad at her that he moved his stuff to another bedroom. I know when she's lying, and her tears sounded really desperate. She's begging me to call him and talk to him, but I don't want to and won't do it. I sent her a cash request for $500 to cover the sushi trays, the cake and other foods plus replacements, also for inconveniencing me and for their night over. It sounds petty, but I'm still fuming. She whined and cried but paid for it, then said that because of me, her kids won't have Christmas. Clarification: I cited for abuse of trust and hospitality when I kicked them out. I wouldn't have minded if they made sandwiches or took from the already opened juice cartons, which were almost full, but I cannot forgive what they did and the food wasting. I already blocked her after telling her that we are no longer friends via text. She sent a friend I hardly know to talk some sense into me, and whom I told to go F-knock themselves. He says what I did was over the top because not only did I scold, kicked her out and announced the end of our friendship, but made her pay me money. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I am amazed, but pleased, she sent you the money. Good for you. Who needs friends like these two? Comment 2. Info. Are your friends raccoons? That is some trash panda behavior right there. Now, for the update, thanks to everyone who read my last post. It's been a week since the whole mess with Mary and Carl happened, and a lot has gone down since then. I've had some time to cool off and reflect on everything, and I wanted to share what's been happening. First off, after I blocked Mary, she tried reaching out to me through different means. She sent messages from her husband's phone, created new social media accounts, and even had her relatives call me. I didn't respond to any of them. I needed space to process my feelings and the violation of my trust. It was tough, but I stood my ground. The aftermath of that night was pretty rough on my boyfriend and me. We spent the next day cleaning up the kitchen and trying to salvage what we could. It was disheartening to see so much waste, but we managed to put the kitchen back in order. We also had a long talk about boundaries and how we would handle similar situations in the future. We agreed that we needed to be firmer and more upfront with our expectations when it comes to guests. A few days later, I heard from a mutual friend that Mary and Carl's situation had escalated. They were still staying in separate rooms, and their kids were caught in the middle of their arguments. I felt bad for the kids, but I knew I couldn't get involved. It wasn't my place, and I had already been dragged into their drama more than I wanted. In a surprising turn of events, Carl reached out to me directly. He apologized for their behavior that night and said he understood why I was upset. He admitted that they had taken advantage of my hospitality and that he was working on setting things right with Mary. He also mentioned that he was planning to take the kids to visit his family for a few days to give everyone some space. I appreciated Carl's apology, but I didn't respond. I wasn't ready to forgive and forget just yet. However, his message did give me some hope that maybe they were starting to realize the consequences of their actions. Throughout the week, I focused on myself and my relationship with my boyfriend. We spent quality time together, and it helped us move past the incident. We even went out for sushi one night, which felt like a small victory. It was nice to enjoy a meal without any drama. Then, just a couple of days ago, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Mary. She had written a heartfelt apology, acknowledging that she had crossed a line and that she was sorry for the strain she put on our friendship. She said she was seeking counseling to address some of her behaviors and that she hoped one day we could rebuild our friendship. Reading her letter, I felt a mix of emotions. I was angry, hurt, but also a little relieved. It seemed like she was finally taking some responsibility for her actions. I haven't decided if I'm ready to let her back into my life, but the letter is a step in the right direction. As for the money she sent me, I decided to donate it to a local food bank. It felt like the right thing to do, especially after all the food that was wasted. It was a small gesture, but it made me feel like something positive came out of this whole ordeal. So, that's where things stand right now. It's been a tough week, but I'm hopeful that this experience has taught everyone involved a valuable lesson. I'm taking things one day at a time and focusing on the people who respect me and my boundaries. And who knows, maybe there's a chance for Mary and me to mend fences in the future. But for now, I'm just going to enjoy the peace and quiet in my home. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Hey there, I totally get why you'd feel violated after your friend helped themselves to your food. It's your home, your rules. Good on you for standing your ground and not letting them take advantage of your kindness. It's tough, but sometimes friendships need boundaries to survive. Comment 2. It sounds like you've been through a lot with your friend. It's important to protect your space and peace. If you're considering the apology, maybe have a sit-down talk about expectations and respect moving forward. It's all about clear communication, and kudos for turning the situation into a positive by donating to those in need. Now, for the next story. I, 50-year-old female, am dying from esophageal cancer. I likely will be entering hospice sometime in 2024. I just want a final holiday at home. My husband James and I have been married for 3 years, but have been in a romantic relationship for a total of 5 years. Besides my 10-year-old daughter Amy, my husband has 3 kids of his own. My daughter is actually biologically my niece, but I myself adopted her when she was 1 because her biological dad died from an overdose, and my sister had done something horrible for which she is still sitting in prison today, and Amy will be well into adulthood before she gets a shot at parole. But in the eyes of me, everybody else in this life, and I'd like to think the next, Amy is my daughter. And for a while, I was thinking that James would be yet another example of how biology doesn't make a parent. I thought we were a family and that he was completely devoted to me and Amy, just as I was to his kids. We spoke of adoption, and the first time we spoke of it was 2 years ago. Then I began getting sick, and this fell by the wayside. Then 2 months ago, I found out that James had a one-night stand with a coworker 4 years ago. We were having a rough patch and hadn't been sleeping together, true, but he blamed it on being drunk. She later quit without notice, but she decided to find me online and expose him after they wouldn't take her back at the restaurant. I had a feeling that James was hiding something after he stormed off from our fights. Now I'm dying and find myself stuck in therapy with this. He claims he hasn't cheated since, and I do not have that suspicion after that period, but don't know what to think anymore. He begged me not to divorce if only so he could take care of me, and also for his health insurance. But now all he's been doing is agonizing about adopting Amy. But all I'm thinking about is he had this one-night stand, but there must have been flirting beforehand. And he was the taken one, so he should have had the impulse control and respect for his partner. I don't like what that says about his character and feel he isn't as sorry as he ought to have been. During our conversation, he said he loves Amy and that he admits that he cheated, so he's a cheater. But that mistake doesn't take away his care for Amy and her welfare, and he said that he deserves any punishments with regards to our marriage, but I'd be punishing Amy because the state would be here the moment I died. I know that if I would have either divorced him or put my energy into therapy, and I have spoken with a lawyer and am considering divorcing him because I know that would have been my first stop if I was still healthy. I don't want to deal with a cheating husband. The fact that he did this makes me worried about whether he'd again let his impulses cloud his better judgment, whether that would extend to letting an unsuitable partner in because he sees intimacy and nothing else. James is upset and says that my parents are dead and the only relative I have is on welfare with 5 kids, but I want to rescind my offer because I don't trust him anymore. Am I the idiot? He keeps saying, "Do this for Amy." Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Just because you can't trust him not to cheat does not mean you can't trust him to be a good father. Has he been a good father for the time that you have been together? Does Amy love him, and would she like to live with him, as opposed to living in foster care? You are in an awful situation. I'm so sorry. You might want to punish him for it, but if you do it in this way, it will only punish your daughter. This is incredibly difficult, but think about your daughter. Where will she go? Who will take care of her? Who will love her? Comment 2. It's a shitty position to be in, but from the sounds of things, his bad behavior 4 years ago has nothing to do with his competency and obvious desire to adopt your child who he's been fathering for 5 years. You're hurt and under a lot of stress. I think anybody would understand your hesitation and concern, but you have to do the difficult thing and put your own feelings aside to decide what's best for Amy. And judging by everything you've said, I think you probably know that allowing him to adopt her is what's best for her. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments and support from my last post. It's been a tough few months, but I've been trying to focus on what's best for Amy and myself. I've been in and out of the hospital, and my health has been declining faster than I anticipated. The doctors are now saying that I might need to enter hospice care sooner than 2024. This has put a lot of pressure on me to make decisions about Amy's future and my relationship with James. James has been attentive, taking me to my appointments and making sure I'm comfortable. He's been trying to make amends, doing everything he can to show he's sorry for his past mistake. He's been cooking, cleaning, and taking care of Amy when I'm too weak. It's like he's a different person, or maybe the person I thought he was before all this happened. We've continued therapy, and it's been hard. We've had some very raw and emotional sessions. James keeps saying he wants to adopt Amy, that he wants to be there for her after I'm gone. He's been talking to lawyers, looking into the adoption process, and trying to get everything in order. He says he wants to make sure Amy has a stable home with someone who loves her. But I've been hesitant. The trust between us has been shattered, and it's hard to rebuild that, especially when I'm facing the end of my life. I've been talking to my own lawyer, trying to figure out what's best for Amy. I've been considering all my options, including finding another family member or a close friend who could take her in. Amy has been struggling too. She knows I'm sick, and she's scared of what's going to happen. She's been clinging to James, and I can see that she loves him. It breaks my heart to think about tearing her away from the only father figure she's known for most of her life. In the midst of all this, something unexpected happened. The co-worker James had the one-night stand with reached out to me again. She said she had something important to tell me and that it couldn't wait. We met in person, and she dropped a bombshell on me. She told me that she had a child, a little boy, and that James is the father. She said she didn't tell anyone because she didn't want to disrupt our lives, but now that I was sick, she thought I should know. She said she didn't want anything from James, that she'd been raising her son on her own, and that she was happy. But she thought that Amy should know she has a half-brother. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say or do. I confronted James, and he was just as shocked as I was. He said he had no idea, that the co-worker never told him about the pregnancy. He was upset, saying that he would have wanted to be involved, to support his child. Now I'm left with even more questions and doubts. I don't know what to believe or who to trust. I don't know what this means for Amy's future or for the adoption. I don't know how to feel about James, about this woman, or about this child who is suddenly part of our lives. I'm trying to process all of this while dealing with my own health issues. It's overwhelming, and I feel like I'm running out of time to make the right decisions. I want to do what's best for Amy, but I'm not even sure what that is anymore. James keeps saying we need to figure this out together, for Amy's sake, but I'm not sure if I can, or if I even want to. I'm scared and confused, and I don't know what the future holds for any of us. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. I went through something similar when my ex cheated on me. It's like a punch to the gut that just keeps on hitting. You're not wrong for questioning his character. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and it's even more crucial when a child's future is at stake. You've got to do what's best for Amy, and if that means questioning James's role in her life, then so be it. Your instincts as a mom are there for a reason. Comment 2. Have you considered a legal guardian for Amy that isn't James? Maybe a close friend or another family member could step in. It's a tough situation, but you're clearly thinking about Amy's best interests. Just make sure whatever decision you make, it's legally sound and provides Amy with the most stable future possible. Hang in there. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.